Hey everyone, welcome back to 20-Minute Podcast with Sophie. I'm so glad you're here. Now, let me ask you something. What do you call someone who wants to colonize Mars, revolutionize transportation on Earth, merge our brains with AI, and dig high-speed tunnels under entire cities? Some might call that crazy, but what if I told you he's already doing all of it? Tonight, we're not just meeting a tech visionary. We're sitting down with someone who treats the future like his home address and pulls the rest of us forward, whether we're ready or not. He's a part inventor, part provocateur, and completely unstoppable. You might admire him, you might challenge him, but you definitely can't ignore him. This is Elon Musk, and this is where the conversation gets real. Let's dive in. Elon, thank you for being here. People see you as this unstoppable force, but I want to rewind. What were you like as a child?
Quiet, very quiet. I spent most of my time with books. I was the kind of kid who'd ask annoying questions like, why is the sky blue? Or what's outside the universe? And then get frustrated when adults didn't have the answers.
Did you feel like you didn't quite fit?
All the time. I didn't connect with other kids much. I got bullied, so I retreated into books. I read everything, sci-fi, philosophy, even the encyclopedia. I finished the whole Britannica just because. I didn't have anyone to talk to. But more than loneliness, I felt frustrated. I could imagine a better world, space travel, electric cars, AI, and I couldn't understand why no one was building it.
Was there a moment when that frustration turned into action?
Yes, I was staring at the moon through this toy telescope when I was around 10. I thought, we landed there in the 60s. How come we're not on Mars yet? That made me angry. It felt like humanity gave up. That's when I started thinking, if no one else would fix it, maybe I should.
So you're this 10-year-old kid frustrated at humanity's lack of progress. What did you do with all that energy?
I turned it inward. I read more. I started teaching myself how computers worked. My brother Kimball and I would take things apart. Sometimes we couldn't put them back together, but we were curious. By age 12, I taught myself to code and built a video game called Blastar. It was a simple space shooting game, nothing fancy, but a magazine bought it for me for $500. That was a big deal. It wasn't about the money, though. It was about making something real from what was in my head.
You made money from your own video game at 12. That's not normal. Most kids were still playing with Legos.
Yeah, and I loved Legos too, but I was also writing basic code line by line from books. I didn't have a fancy computer, just a Commodore VIC-20. You had to type fast and make very few mistakes. One wrong letter and the whole program crashed.
That level of focus, especially at that age, were you trying to prove something?
Maybe to myself. I think I felt powerless in real life, but in code, I could build things that worked exactly as I intended. It gave me a sense of control. Also, computers were predictable. People weren't. I liked that.
Was there anyone who understood you back then?
Not really. My parents divorced, and home wasn't the most peaceful place. Teachers didn't know what to do with me. I didn't have many friends, and the ones that I did have weren't into the same things. But I had my heroes. Carl Sagan, Isaac Asimov, Douglas Adams, they made the universe feel both vast and hilarious. I remember reading The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and being struck by the idea that the answer to life, the universe, and everything was, 42? It made me laugh, but also made me think maybe the real answers don't come neatly packaged. You have to seek them, build them.
So you're sitting with existential questions at an age when most kids are worried about recess.
Exactly, and I didn't feel sad about it, just curious. But curiosity without action gets heavy. I knew I had to do something with it.
Let's go back to your school years for a second. You mentioned bullying. How bad did it get?
Pretty bad. South Africa in the 80s was rough. I was this pale, nerdy kid who read too much. I got pushed downstairs, beaten up. There was one time I ended up in the hospital for days. They broke my nose.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was brutal. But you know what taught me something unexpected? Resilience. Pain passes. And being underestimated can be a gift.
You didn't become bitter?
No, more like determined. I realized early on I couldn't control the world, but I could control how much I learned. That became my armor.
Did that mindset stay with you?
Always. Even now when things get chaotic, whether it's rockets exploding or critics shouting, I just go back to the basics, learn faster than the problem grows.
That's a superpower. And it sounds like you built it as a kid just trying to survive.
That's exactly it. Pain pushed me inward, books pulled me forward, and curiosity, that was the engine.
And, hearing this, I get the sense that young Elon wasn't trying to be a genius. He was just trying to find his place in the universe.
That's still true, Sophie. I'm still searching.
So let's fast forward a little bit. You're 17, standing at the edge of everything you've known. What made you leave South Africa?
Freedom. That's really what it came down to. I didn't see a future in South Africa. Apartheid was crumbling, but the environment was still charged. I knew I didn't want to be part of mandatory military service. They wanted young men to enforce a system I didn't believe in, so I left. Alone with one suitcase and barely enough money. Canada was my entry point. My mom was born there, so I could get citizenship.
That's a huge leap. Was it terrifying?
Absolutely. I landed in Canada with no connections, no guarantees. I was staying with distant relatives I had never met before. But I had this belief that North America, especially the U.S., was the place where things happened, where the future was being written.
So it was more than just escaping. You were chasing something.
Always. I had this inner compass that pointed toward innovation, technology, space, clean energy. I couldn't articulate it then, but I knew I had to get closer to the people building the future.
What was the toughest moment in those early years?
Probably sleeping on the floor of my cousin's dorm room at Queen's University. I couldn't afford my own place. I worked odd jobs, cleaning boilers, cutting logs. One summer, I worked at a lumber mill where I had to lift 100-pound sacks of grain. No one knew who I was. I was just this skinny kid with big dreams and no money.
But you stayed hungry.
Hunger was literal some days, but yeah, mentally I was insatiable. I read constantly, taught myself physics, programming, economics. I was always asking, what matters most for the future of humanity?
Did you ever feel like giving up?
There were definitely lonely nights. I missed my brother. I missed having a sense of belonging, but giving up never felt like an option. I was already in free fall. Might as well steer the dive.
That mindset, it's intense. Did you feel pressure to make it?
Strangely, no. It wasn't pressure. It was more like a pull, like gravity, but toward possibility. I didn't care about comfort or prestige. I just wanted to build things that mattered.
Was there a specific moment when you knew, I'm in the right place now?
Yes. After transferring to Penapelican, I had this moment walking across campus. I was studying both physics and economics, pulling insane hours. But I looked around and thought, this is it. I'm where the world meets ideas. That was electric for me.
And what was college Elon like?
Focused, socially awkward, probably too intense. I'd corner people at parties and talk about space colonization. Most people were trying to have fun. I was trying to discuss entropy.
So you were the guy who brought up Mars between shots.
Exactly. Hey, you know what's really wild? The Fermi paradox. That was me.
I mean, at least it wasn't small talk.
Never been good at small talk, but deep conversations, that's where I feel alive.
So when you look back, what part of those years still lives inside you?
This sense of being unproven. I still operate like that. Every company I've started, from Zip2 to SpaceX, I've approached it with the mindset of that kid sleeping on the floor. Nothing's promised, so build like it's your only shot.
It's funny because most people wait for the right time. You just left. You threw yourself into the unknown.
Because the unknown is where all the good stuff is. I've never seen comfort produce greatness.
That's going on a t-shirt. The unknown is where all the good stuff is.
I'll take 10% of the profits.
All right, Elon, let's talk about your first real business, baby. Zip2. What was that like? Your first startup in your 20s in Silicon Valley. Walk me into the room.
Sure. The room was actually a tiny office in Palo Alto with no windows. It was just me, my brother Kimball, and a dream. We didn't have much, a few $1,000s, old computers, and a belief that the internet was about to explode.
So what even was Zip2?
At its core, it was an online city guide. We wanted to help newspapers put their content online. Maps, directories, business listings. It sounds simple now, but back then it was wild. Most businesses didn't even have websites. People thought the internet was a fad.
So you were selling the future to people who barely understood dial-up.
Exactly. I remember pitching to newspapers, and they'd stare at us like we were aliens. We were these 20-something kids saying, "You need to be online." And they'd say, "What's a browser?"
So how did you even get through to them?
Persistence and code. I wrote most of the early platform myself. We'd go to meetings during the day, pitch to anyone who'd listened, and go back to the office at night and code until 3 a.m.
That sounds brutal.
It was. I literally slept under my desk. We couldn't afford an apartment for a while, so we'd rotate showers at the local YMCA.
Okay, that's insane. But I guess that's the startup cliche, right?
Except back then, it wasn't a cliche yet. It was desperation, but also love. Love for the idea that we could build something that mattered.
Was there ever a moment when you thought, this is going to work?
Yeah, the day Compaq came to us,
They wanted to buy the company for $307 million. We were stunned. Kimball and I had built this thing from nothing, and suddenly we were in rooms with lawyers and contracts and a pile of money none of us had ever imagined.
You were, what, 27?
Yep. And I walked away with $22 million. It didn't even feel real.
How do you process that? I mean, most people would stop there, retire, live on a beach.
But I didn't want a beach. I wanted impact. Zip2 taught me two things. One, I could build something from scratch and make it work. And two, I had to aim higher next time, much higher.
And you didn't keep a single cent idle, right? You threw almost all of it into your next venture.
Exactly. I took $10 million and co-founded X.com, which eventually became PayPal.
Hold on. I want to ask something most people skip over. Emotionally, what did that money do to you? Were you scared it would change you?
Interesting question. It didn't feel like money in their traditional sense. It felt like fuel. Like, now you have no excuse. You've got the capital, so go build something bold. It was a responsibility more than a reward.
But surely there must have been a moment buying your first car, first apartment.
Actually, I did buy a McLaren F1. I thought it was the coolest car in the world. But no garage, by the way. I just parked it on the street. And later, I crashed it.
Wait, what?
Yeah, with Peter Thiel in the passenger seat. I was showing off, no seatbelt, no insurance, spun it out, completely wrecked the front. It was embarrassing, but also kind of symbolic. I don't care much for luxury. I care for velocity.
Wow, that says a lot. Were you ever tempted to just enjoy the win?
No, my mind was already on the next thing. The real problems. Payments were broken. Banking was archaic. That was the PayPal origin.
So even with your first big win, you still felt incomplete.
Not incomplete, just unfinished. I saw how broken systems were, and I thought, if I can solve even one of these big pain points, that's worth more than any yacht.
Most people wait for permission. You just go.
Because no one's going to give you a golden ticket. You have to build it. Zip2 gave me my first hammer and nails.
Let's jump into PayPal. It's one of those names people now take for granted, like it's always existed, but you were right at the heart of its messy, brilliant origin.
Oh yeah, messy is the right word. We started X.com to revolutionize finance. Online payments were clunky, slow, and full of middlemen. It was ripe for disruption.
And you weren't from banking. You weren't a Wall Street guy. You were a physics and comp sci nerd.
Exactly. But that was an advantage. I didn't accept the way things had always been done. I kept asking, why? Why should it take 3 days to move money? Why so many fees?
You guys were basically trying to turn the entire global financial system into code.
Yes. A clean, fast, peer-to-peer payment system. X.com was about trust without friction. But then came the PayPal Mafia, Peter Thiel, Max Levchin, Reid Hoffman. It was a storm of ideas, egos, and late nights.
That sounds chaotic. How did you even manage a team like that?
It wasn't easy. I was CEO at first, but we had strong disagreements about the tech stack, the product direction. Eventually, the board voted me out while I was on my honeymoon.
Wait, they ousted you on your honeymoon?
Yep, came back and I wasn't CEO anymore.
That's brutal. How did that feel?
It hurt, of course, but I still believed in the mission. So I stayed as a major shareholder, and when eBay acquired PayPal for $1.5 billion, it was validation that the vision worked, even if I wasn't steering the ship at the end.
You walked away with what, $180 million?
Something like that, post-tax. But again, it didn't feel like retirement money. It felt like launch fuel for the real missions.
That's wild. Most people would have been done. You looked at your bank account and thought, let's go to Mars.
Pretty much. I split it between three things: SpaceX, Tesla, and Solar City. I bet everything on them, literally.
Hold on. I want to linger here. That moment, you had this massive win. People knew your name. But instead of enjoying it, you doubled down into three of the riskiest industries possible: space, cars, and energy.
Because they mattered. I wasn't excited by just making money. I was excited by solving existential problems.
So PayPal was just a warm-up.
Exactly. It taught me how to build under pressure, how to attract talent, how to think in systems. It sharpened the blade for what was coming next.
And what was coming next was rocket fuel, battery fires, and a whole lot of near-death experiences.
Buckle up.
Okay, Elon, let's talk SpaceX, because I still think a lot of people hear that name and go, cool, billionaire plays with rockets. But it wasn't a billionaire flex, was it?
No, not at all. I started at SpaceX when I had money, yes, but I didn't do it to show off. I genuinely believed, and still do, that humanity needs to be a multiplanetary species to survive long term.
That's such a huge leap in thinking. Like, most people finish a startup, take a beach vacation. You finished PayPal and started designing rockets.
Why? Because I realized no one else was going to do it. I actually tried first to help NASA, tried to get them excited about Mars missions, but it became painfully clear they weren't moving fast enough. Bureaucracy, politics, it was frustrating.
So the logic was, if they won't, I will?
Exactly. I remember going online to research how much it would cost to buy a furbished ICBM from Russia.
Wait, you were literally Googling used missiles like someone searches for used cars.
Pretty much. I flew to Moscow with a small team, had meetings with military brokers, and it was so absurd. One guy literally spit on my shoe when I tried negotiating.
Seriously?
Yeah, that moment was a turning point. On the flight back, I opened my laptop and started doing the math. Could we build a rocket ourselves? The cost of materials was way below what the industry was charging. That's when I knew we could do this from scratch.
And that's how SpaceX was born.
Right. In 2002, we hired a tiny team of scrappy engineers, not aerospace elites, but brilliant misfits. We moved fast, we iterated, but man, the early days were brutal.
Let's talk about the Falcon 1 launches. You almost ran out of money, right?
We didn't almost. We did. We failed 3 launches in a row. Each one was a heartbreak. Millions of dollars burned, and people online cheering for us to fail.
Why do you think that is?
Because it's easy to root against ambition, especially when it threatens the status quo. People thought we were arrogant, trying to do what only governments had done.
How did you personally deal with those failures?
It was the lowest point in my life. I had invested everything. I remember thinking, if the next launch fails, SpaceX is dead. That was 2008. I was sleeping in the factory, dealing with Tesla's issues at the same time, trying to hold both companies together with duct tape and pure willpower.
And then came launch number 4.
Yes, September 28th, 2008. I'll never forget that date. Falcon 1 finally made it to orbit. First privately built liquid-fueled rocket to do it. Everyone burst into tears. That launch saved the company.
Did you cry?
I cried so hard, not out of pride, out of sheer relief. It meant the dream wasn't over. A week later, NASA awarded us a $16 billion contract. That changed everything.
So that one success, after 3 failures, bought you more than time. It bought you belief.
Yes, it proved to the world that SpaceX wasn't just a billionaire's toy. It was real. We were building something that could change the course of history.
You once said, when something is important enough, you do it even if the odds are against you. That was SpaceX.
Still is.
Looking back now, what's the one thing most people misunderstand about space?
That it's not about escaping Earth. It's about preserving consciousness. If we stay on one planet, eventually something, a virus, a war, an asteroid, will wipe us out. Going to Mars is insurance for life itself.
That's not just science fiction anymore.
Nope, but we're working on Starship now, fully reusable, capable of carrying over 100 tons to orbit, designed to take people to the moon, to Mars. Not just astronauts, you, me, anyone willing to go.
You're building a future where colonizing another planet is possible.
It has to be, or we're just waiting for extinction.
That gives me chills.
Then we're on the right path.
Let's talk about Tesla for a bit. You've said before that electric cars weren't just a business, they were a necessity for humanity. But it almost broke you, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Starting Tesla was one of the hardest decisions of my life. When we began, electric cars were considered a joke. Slow, ugly, boring. I wanted to prove that they could be the best cars in the world, period.
But you weren't a car guy. You weren't even from that industry.
No, I learned as I went. I obsessed over every detail, from battery architecture to body design to how the door handles felt. I slept on the factory floor, especially during the Model 3 ramp-up. That nearly broke me physically and mentally.
Why did you push yourself so far?
Because no one else would. I couldn't ask people to work 18 hours a day unless I was doing it too. That's how you build trust, but it can with a cost. I missed birthdays, lost relationships. Even my health took a hit.
Do you regret it?
In moments, yes.
But in the bigger picture, no. Because now we've reached a tipping point. EVs are the future. We helped make them desirable, fast, beautiful. That wouldn't have happened if we didn't go all in.
There's this meme of you looking exhausted with red eyes under fluorescent lights at 2 a.m. It's become a symbol of extreme hustle. But do you think that level of burnout is worth celebrating?
No, it's not. I'm not advocating burnout. I didn't see another option at the time. I do believe in hard work, but now I try to be smarter about it. Balance is something I'm still learning.
You've said before that the future isn't something that just happens, it's something we build. What future are you still chasing?
I want to accelerate sustainable energy, make humans multiplanetary, and ensure that AI aligns with our values. That's a big to-do list, I know, but I don't want to die thinking I could have done more.
Wow, that's heavy, but also incredibly inspiring.
Thanks. It's not about being a hero. It's about doing what needs to be done, even if it's hard, especially if it's hard.
That line right there, especially if it's hard, that might be your autobiography title one day.
I'll give you credit if I use it.
Okay, let's step away from rockets and cars for a moment. I want to ask you something I don't think enough people ask. What scares you?
Being alone. Not just physically, emotionally. I've spent a lot of time feeling isolated. Even in a room full of people, I can feel apart.
Is that because of how your mind works?
Partly. My brain's always going. It's hard to shut it off. I think in physics and abstractions, even when I'm with people. That can be hard in relationships.
Do you ever feel like you've paid for your vision with personal happiness?
I think there's truth in that. I've sacrificed things other people value more easily. Peace, stillness, time with loved ones, in service of what I believed needed doing.
That's honest and vulnerable. Thank you for sharing that.
It's okay. I'm not trying to be perfect. I'm trying to be useful.
That might be the most Elon Musk sentence ever.
I'll take that as a compliment.
And it is. You mentioned AI earlier, and I have to ask, you've been one of the most vocal figures warning about artificial intelligence. What do you see that others don't?
I think a lot of people underestimate how fast it's moving. AI doesn't evolve like humans, it compounds. Once it surpasses human-level general intelligence, and I believe it will, we won't be the dominant species intellectually anymore.
That's a big shift to wrap your head around.
It's massive. Imagine being a house cat suddenly aware that your owner understands quantum physics. That's the intelligence gap we're facing, except we won't be the ones holding the leash.
So what's the solution then? Ban it, slow it down?
You can't ban math. The key is aligning AI with human values before it becomes too advanced. That's why I co-founded OpenAI initially, to democratize access and ensure safety. But now it's a broader challenge.
So what scares you more? Climate collapse or runaway AI?
AI, because climate change is happening on a timescale we can adapt to, at least partially. But AGI could go from helpful to dangerous in a matter of days or hours. That's a different beast.
Isn't it ironic, though? You're the guy building super intelligent robots through Tesla and Neuralink, yet you're warning about them too.
Yeah, I know. It's like inventing fire and yelling, "Careful, it burns." But I'd rather be inside the room trying to steer the feature than shouting from the outside.
So what keeps you hopeful?
People. Despite all our flaws, humans are capable of beauty, empathy, imagination. I still believe we can guide AI in a direction that helps us, not harms us. But we have to move fast and think carefully.
That's such a delicate balance, accelerating innovation while anchoring it to ethics.
Exactly. It's not just about building things. It's about asking, should we? And if yes, how?
If your kids ask you one day, Dad, what did you do when humanity stood at the edge? What would you want to say?
I'd want to say I tried my best to tip it in the right direction.
That gave me chills.
Me too.
Elon, let's talk Mars. Of all your ventures, this is the one that feels like the stuff of science fiction. Why Mars?
Because it's there, and because Earth won't last forever. We have this beautiful blue planet, but it's fragile. Mars is our backup drive. If something catastrophic happens here, natural or human-made, we need a plan B. Not to escape Earth, but to ensure humanity continues.
So it's about survival?
That's one part, but it's also about hope, adventure, and pushing boundaries. I mean, wouldn't you want to wake up knowing your species is now interplanetary? It reframes everything. Kids grow up dreaming bigger.
What was that initial spark that made you take this seriously? Was it a movie, a book?
Actually, it was the realization that NASA had no plans to go to Mars. None. That felt insane to me. In the early 2000s, I tried to donate money to get a greenhouse on Mars, a tiny experimental thing, and even that was too much bureaucracy. So I thought, if no one else is doing it, I will.
And that's how SpaceX was born.
Exactly. We started with a small team, a crazy goal, and zero experience. People laughed at us, and not politely. But we launched anyway. Our first 3 Falcon 1 flights failed. We almost went bankrupt. 4th flight barely made it. 5th saved us.
You once said Mars needs a city of 1 million people. That's still the goal?
Yes, a self-sustaining city where people can live, work, raise families, not just a research station, something permanent. It'll take decades, but we've already started.
What's the biggest misconception people have about going to Mars?
That it's a vacation? Mars is hard. Radiation, cold, no breathable air, no farms yet. It's like building a civilization in Antarctica with less oxygen and more death. The first settlers will be like Shackleton's crew, pioneers, not tourists.
Would you go?
Eventually, but I think I can help more by staying on Earth during the critical early years. Once it's stable, who knows?
Do your kids ask about Mars?
Oh, all the time. One of them asked if dogs can come too. I said, not right away, but eventually, yes. I think that's how we'll know we've really made it, when dogs live on Mars.
That's oddly warm-hearting. I'm imagining little space puppies bouncing in 1/3 gravity.
Exactly. A Mars where dogs can run is a Mars worth living on.
And in the grander scheme, do you think that future will shift how humans treat Earth?
It has to. Seeing Earth from space, the thin atmosphere, the fragility, it changes people. Space doesn't make Earth less valuable, it makes it sacred.
So, in a way, Mars is about protecting Earth too?
Yes, Mars is a reminder that we're custodians here, not just tenants. If we can build a city on another planet, maybe we'll finally learn how to take care of the one we already have.
Elon, you've talked a lot about failure, and frankly, you've had your fair share public, expensive, high stakes failures. But you keep going. How do you process it?
Failure for me is data. Painful, humiliating sometimes, yes, but it's data. If you're not failing, you're not innovating. And if you take the emotion out of it for a second, failure is actually a map. It tells you where not to go or how to go better next time.
Did you always think like that?
No, when I was younger, failure felt existential, like the whole world was watching and judging. I remember the third Falcon 1 rocket crash. That night, I lay on the floor of my office, couldn't sleep, couldn't breathe. We were out of money. I had to choose give up or bet everything I had on one last launch.
And you bet everything.
Everything. The fourth flight had to work, and it did. That success bought us a NASA contract, which saved SpaceX.
Do you think people underestimate how close you were to losing it all?
Oh, absolutely. We were days away from bankruptcy. Tesla, too. During the 2008 financial crisis, I had to split my remaining money between Tesla and SpaceX and keep Solar City going, too. I didn't even own a house back then. People think I was rich and reckless. I wasn't. I was all in, emotionally, financially, everything.
And emotionally, how do you deal with being let down?
I don't think I deal with it well, to be honest. I internalize a lot. I just keep moving. One of the hardest things is letting people down. The team, the investors, the public. When things fail, I blame myself first. That's not always healthy.
Does it ever make you want to quit?
Sometimes. Yeah. There are days I want to lay down and never get up. But then I remember if I stop, we lose. That's not acceptable.
You've also been very open about criticism. Does it still sting?
Of course, I'm human. But I try to separate useful criticism from noise. If someone tells me I'm wrong, I listen. If they say I'm evil or stupid without context, I let it go. You can't please everyone, especially when you're trying to disrupt entire industries.
There's that famous quote, "I've never failed. I just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Sound familiar?
Yeah, that's basically our engineering motto at SpaceX. Explode, iterate, repeat.
One thing I find fascinating is that your companies often test in public. Most would hide their failures.
Yeah, we don't do PowerPoints, we do launches. If a rocket explodes, it's on YouTube. That's part of building trust. We're not perfect, but we're learning out loud.
What's one failure you're weirdly proud of?
The Starship SN8 crash, it was supposed to land, it didn't, but the flight itself worked beautifully. For 5 minutes, it was like watching a dragon dance in the sky. The crash was loud, sure, but we learned more in that one flight than in months of simulations.
What do you say to someone who's failed big and feels broken?
It's okay to feel broken, but don't confuse that with being defeated. There's a difference. Cry if you need to, then ask, what did I learn? And most importantly, try again. You're not your last failure.
That might be my favorite thing you said tonight.
Let's hope it's not the only good one.
Elon, we've talked a lot about your work and your vision, but I want to shift gears a little. What does life look like outside the rockets and factories? How do you balance being Elon Musk with being, well, just a dad?
It's hard. Balance is probably one of the things I struggle with most. I've got 10 kids now, and that's not a small number. I love them more than anything, but I'd be lying if I said I was always there as much as I want to be.
Is it guilt or more just the logistics of being who you are?
A bit of both. I think anyone who works obsessively, like I do, walks around with a low hum of guilt. Missing birthdays, late night calls, sleeping at the factory, that adds up. And when you're public facing, there's this constant tension. The world expects everything from you, but your kids just want their dad.
What's a small, quiet moment with your kids that grounds you?
Bath time. I know that sounds random, but with the younger ones, helping them into the tub, washing their hair, it's one of the only times I'm not thinking about Mars or lithium supply chains. It's just water and giggles and toys everywhere. Very human, very grounding.
I imagine being Elon Musk must feel isolating sometimes, especially when the internet paints you as a symbol instead of a person.
Yeah, the internet is weird. You go from being a person to a meme to a monster in like a day. There are moments where I feel deeply misunderstood or just exhausted, like shouting into a void of hot takes.
Do you have anyone who sees you clearly without all the noise?
My kids do. Kids are incredibly honest, brutally so. They don't care about valuations or Mars plans. They just want cereal and cuddles and for you to put your phone down. That helps.
And how do you protect them from your fame?
I try to keep them out of the spotlight. We don't do press. I don't post about them. And I talk to them about it, the weirdness of who their dad is. I tell them they can choose what kind of relationship they want with all this when they're older.
You've had high-profile relationships too. Is it hard to find emotional intimacy with so much attention on you?
Yes. Intimacy is difficult when your inbox is full of crisis alerts and your name trends every week for something random. It takes a very strong, patient person to be close to me. And I'm not always easy to be close to, honestly.
Have you learned anything about yourself through those relationships?
A lot. I've learned I need to communicate more than I think I do, that silence can be hurtful, that I tend to retreat inward when things get tough, which isn't helpful in a partnership. I'm working on that.
You once said you don't want to be alone. Is that still true?
More than ever, I'm wired to want connection. Not just romantically, I mean real human connection. That's probably why I post too much on Twitter. But in all seriousness, I think loneliness is the tax you pay for doing anything big. You lose a kind of normality that most people take for granted.
How do you cope when that loneliness creeps in?
I listen to music. I walk around the factory floor and talk to engineers. I hold my kids. I try to remind myself that even if I feel alone, I'm part of something much bigger. There's comfort in that.
What would this 17-year-old Elon, the kid dreaming of Mars, say if he could see you now?
He'd probably say, "Wow, we did it." And then he'd ask why I look so tired. But I think he'd be proud not just of what we built, but that we never gave up, even when it was lonely, even when it broke us.
That's a beautiful place to pause for a moment. Thank you for going there.
Thanks for asking. These are the questions that matter.
Elon, I want to talk about something many people avoid, failure. With everything you've accomplished, some might think you're immune to fate, but I know that's far from the truth.
Definitely far. I've probably failed more times than most people have tried. But here's the thing. I don't see failure as something to avoid. I see it as a teacher, a brutal, hilarious, sometimes humiliating teacher.
Was there a particular failure that really stung? One that shifted your path?
Oh yeah, 2008. That year almost broke me. SpaceX had failed its first 3 launches. Tesla was running out of money. I had friends, smart people, telling me to shut both of them down. I was borrowing money to pay rent. Imagine being the CEO of 2 companies and couch surfing.
What was going through your head on that 4th SpaceX launch?
Everything and nothing. It was surreal. The launch team was tense. I was pacing in a corner. When it worked, when Falcon 1 finally made it to orbit, I just dropped to the floor. Not from relief, but from release. Like my whole body had been clenched for 3 years and finally let go.
Failure doesn't just test systems, it tests your psychology, right?
Absolutely. It strips away your ego. You find out if you really believe in what you're building. And it teaches you how to take hits over and over. The emotional endurance of entrepreneurship is way harder than the technical part.
How do you deal with public failures now when the world's watching?
You develop a thicker skin. I still feel it. The sting, the memes, the judgment. But I've learned to ask, was this failure in pursuit of a mission? If yes, then it's just a step. A painful one, sure, but part of the climb.
And what do you say to someone who's terrified of failing?
That it's okay to be afraid, but don't let that stop you from trying. Most people don't even start because they imagine the pain of failing, but the regret of not trying, that lasts longer. And here's a secret. People forget your failures faster than you do.
Have you forgiven yourself for your biggest mistakes?
I'm still working on that. I've hurt people, unintentionally, but still. I've made calls I wish I could take back, said things I should have paused before tweeting, but self-forgiveness is part of growth. You have to own it, learn from it, and keep going.
You've had moments where entire industries laughed at you, car companies, NASA, even Wall Street. Did you ever doubt yourself?
Sure, I doubt myself all the time, but I don't let that doubt paralyze me. I use it. I examine it. I ask, is this a real weakness or just fear talking? Doubt can be fuel if you don't let it define you.
That's powerful. You once said persistence is very important. How do you define that now?
Persistence isn't about charging ahead blindly. It's about learning, adjusting, and coming back stronger even when you're tired, embarrassed, or broke. It's the refusal to quit, even when quitting seems rational.
Do you ever think about legacy? About how you'll be remembered?
Less than people assume. I don't care if people remember me. I care if the things we started, like transitioning to sustainable energy or getting humans to Mars, keep going. Legacy is a side effect of meaningful work.
And when things go wrong, which they always do, what's your inner dialogue like?
It's usually something like, okay, that sucked. Let's fix it. I allow myself a moment to feel it. Then I go into problem-solving mode. Emotions are valid, but they can't drive the car.
If your kids watch this one day, what's the one thing you'd want them to learn from your failures?
That failure is not the enemy. Fear is. I want them to be brave, to try weird, hard, unlikely things. And if they fall, I want them to know that I did too, and that getting up is the whole point.
That feels like a message not just for your kids, but for all of us.
Hopefully. We're all just stumbling forward. The trick is to stumble with intention.
Let's talk about the future, Elon. You once said the future belongs to those who build it. What are you building next?
We're working on quite a few things. Neuralink, Optimus the humanoid robot, Starship for Mars. Each one of them sounds insane if you say it out loud, but to me, they're necessary.
Why necessary?
Because we're at a fork in the road as a civilization. Either we become multiplanetary, a spacefaring species, or we stay on Earth and risk being wiped out by some extinction event, whether natural or self-inflicted.
Let's talk about that. What's driving your curiosity these days?
Lately, I've been obsessed with questions like, what does education look like when AI tutors are personalized to each kid? Or what kind of art will humans create when we collaborate with machines? And of course, can we grow strawberries on Mars?
Okay, wait. Strawberries?
Yeah, if we're going to colonize Mars, we better figure out dessert first.
Spoken like a true futurist with a sweet tooth. But really, what keeps you energized when you're juggling so many big visions?
Honestly, play. I think people underestimate how much progress comes from just tinkering, messing around, making weird prototypes. That's where magic hides.
So, the future belongs to tinkers?
Absolutely. The kid who builds a robot in their garage, the artist who trains an AI to paint emotions, the retired engineer who teaches themselves fusion physics on YouTube. Those people are shaping the next era.
I love that. Now, let's fast forward. It's the year 2050. What do you hope an average Saturday looks like?
Okay, picture this. You wake up to sunlight powered by your own roof. Your AI assistant already booked you tickets to a concert on the moon, virtual or real, up to you. You hop into an underground loop, get anywhere in your city in 5 minutes, and call your cousin on Mars because it's her birthday.
Wait, FaceTiming Mars?
There'll be a bit of a delay, but hey, that's what emojis are for.
Elon, you somehow make the future sound like a Pixar movie and a physics lecture at the same time.
Best review I've gotten all week.
Okay, time for our favorite part, the lightning round. Short answers only. Ready?
Born ready.
Weirdest idea you've ever had, but still secretly love.
A scent-based social media app. Smell what your friends are up to.
Please, no. Favorite midnight snack?
Popcorn with chili powder. Don't judge.
Always. Last thing that made you laugh out loud.
My kid asking if robots dream of electric sheep. Unironically.
I mean, that's valid. Okay, if you could invent one new holiday, what would it celebrate?
Imagination Day. Everyone gets the day off to build, sketch, explore, dream, whatever sparks them.
Can we make that real? All right, Elon, we're wrapping up. Any last words for our listeners out there? Maybe someone who's a little lost or stuck.
Yeah. Don't wait for clarity. Curiosity is enough. Follow that. Build something weird. Ask a question no one's asked yet. That's how the best adventures start.
That might be my new screensaver.
Happy to inspire your desktop.
Elon, thank you for being here, for dreaming out loud, and for letting us laugh through the cosmos with you.
Thank you, Sophie. This was the most fun I've had without launching something.
Everyone, that was Elon Musk. Whether or not you've built a rocket, made an AI, or FaceTime someone on Mars, this episode was your reminder curiosity counts. Dreams count, even the silly ones. This podcast is your companion for coffee mornings, late night walks, or moments when you wonder if your ideas are too weird to matter. They're not. So hit like, subscribe, only if it feels right, and drop a comment. What's your wild idea? Until next time, I'm Sophie, and this was 20-Minute Podcast. Stay curious, stay kind, and don't forget to laugh along the way.